Oh, hey guys, StayPationt here. Just to explain the frustration, this video is the one that I mentioned on Sunday that's going to hopefully kick off a new era for the channel. Now, it's Wednesday today. I settled down to record this yesterday because obviously I promised it for Wednesday evening, and I actually recorded it twice last night. The second time I was happy with the recording, so I put a couple of hours into editing the actual audio, the commentary track that was recorded separately, and then when the video footage had actually finished processing, it turns out that the webcam footage was ruined. It was unusable, so I had to start again today. Now that was about 4 or 5 hours work, which is really frustrating when it's just thrown out completely. But today, basically, long story short, the same thing has happened again. So I've wasted probably 7 hours on this video already with nothing to show for it. So I'm a bit a bit annoyed at the moment. Anyway, like I say, this is the video that I've spoken about. I hope I haven't oversold it because I know a lot of you are getting quite excited to watch this, to find out what it's all about. And I think it's not so much the video itself that's going to be exciting, but it's what will follow. It's what it will mean for the channel, because we're going to be talking about some new Patreon rewards that I've set up. And obviously, if we can get some support on Patreon, then it's going to help me be able to put more time into the channel, which is going to benefit everyone. But at the same time, the actual specific rewards that have been put up are going to have a big impact on the content that's put up on the channel, and also your involvement personally. Now, before we go into all that, I'd like to give out some thank yous. So, of course, a big thank you to all of you. I say this at the end of almost every video. Every time you watch a video, and especially when you like it, when you comment on it, even if you dislike it, it all counts as engagement. And that's what YouTube look for when they're trying to figure out which videos are worth promoting and suggesting, and where they should be in search results and things like that. So anytime you sort of engage with one of my videos in any way, it really helps to grow the channel. So I massively appreciate it. But today I do want to give out some specific thank yous. So I have a list here of all my existing and past Patreon subscribers, because I'm going to be giving a shout out to everyone who subscribes on Patreon from now on. But I do want to give a special thank you to those of you who have been subscribed, despite the fact that there haven't been any rewards on my Patreon page up until recently. So guys, a big thank you to Sebastian Geist, Vasto Lord A. Koga, Scott Bodine, I think I pronounced that correctly, Janice Gabauer, Simon Sjostrom, John Rogers, Andrew Talon, Bradley O'Rourke, Chris Alott, Harrison Stanley, Ants Pie, Andreas Kotz, and David Algeo. Now, I apologise if I've mispronounced any of your names, but a big thank you to you for all your support there. Hopefully, after today's video, there'll be a nice lot of people joining you on the Patreon community to really help it grow and make it even more worthwhile being part of it. Now, you may remember that I mentioned I was waiting for a delivery, and that some of my regular content, such as the next How to Be a Trophy Hunter video, and some of my guides and top 10s and things like that, I was kind of holding off on them briefly while I was waiting for this delivery, simply because I wanted to have it here to be able to give out another thank you during this video. And of course, this video is going to impact the future content, so I was kind of holding off until I could put this particular video up. And it turns out that it's going to be quite difficult to show you what it is that I have received. But basically, a few weeks ago, one of my Patreon subscribers that I just mentioned, Bradley O'Rourke, he messaged me and said he'd like to donate to the channel, just out of pure kindness, I guess. He enjoys the content. So I said that's extremely kind of you, but it might be worth looking into subscribing on Patreon, because I'm planning on putting up some rewards, which are, of course, now there. So he has done that, but he also he sent me a picture of a poster that he'd put together and said he'd like to send me one, which is extremely kind of him, because he had to pay to have it made up and then pay to send it to me. So it's very generous of you, Bradley. I'm going to show you now, but like I say, it's difficult to see because it kind of just reflects the actual screen, the computer screen, and any light in the room. But let's give this a go. Okay guys, hopefully you can still hear me back here. So this is the poster that Bradley has put together, and the delivery I was waiting for was actually the frame, so I could, have it framed and hang it on the wall without wrecking it. But as you can maybe make out, there's a lot of reflections here of my mic and my webcam and TV screen. But it's obviously the PS4 slogan, this is for the players, and he's also got a lot of the PlayStation characters interacting with the letters in quite interesting ways. So you probably see there on the left-hand side Nathan Drake hopping over the S, and you've got Sackboy in the middle there on the T, just poking out from behind. You've got Crash Bandicoot climbing through the O there. There's probably a couple of dozen characters here. Let's just have a look, see if we can list them all. We've got a Resistance alien here, then Jak and Daxter, Spyro, Iota from Tearaway, Nathan Drake, Knack, the character from Unravel, is it Unravel? Something like that. I'm not sure what he's called, I haven't played it yet. Anyway, there's Crash Bandicoot, Ratchet and Clank, Sackboy, Parappa the Rapper, Abe from the Oddworld games. You've got the character from Journey, Solid Snake, Claptrap, Fat Princess there, Delphine Rowe from Infamous Second Son. You've got a Clicker from The Last of Us, which is kind of interesting that he chose one of the enemies rather than one of the playable characters. But that's cool. And then at the end here, you've got Sly Cooper with the Resogun ship just above him. Now, at first glance, I kind of thought that was a Wipeout ship, but it is Resogun, of course. But yeah, that's very cool. Now, the great thing about this is that it will fit perfectly in the gap behind me, where the mirror used to be. You'll probably remember I took it down because the light was shining against the webcam and causing issues. Anyway, there it is, guys. That's one of the things I want to say a big thank you to Bradley O'Rourke for. Very, very cool indeed. Now, when I received that, guys, I was thinking that it might be able to be adjusted into a cool banner for the channel, because I've never actually had a banner. I just had a Google image, a very blurry one of like the PlayStation buttons, which didn't work very well at all. So I was thinking of trying to adjust that and turn it into this is for the trophy hunters, and then swap PlayStation for StayPatient and sort of work from there. But the second thank you I want to give out is for Dan Allen, who emailed me a few weeks ago as well and mentioned that he'd like to put together a banner for the channel. So he sent one through, and at first I was thinking, oh, okay, this would be cool. It'd be a nice placeholder for while I'm working on my own one, but I've kind of fallen in love with it. So here it is here on my channel. You may have noticed it. I haven't actually had any comments on it, but I think probably most of you watch my videos through your subscriber feed or whatever, so maybe you don't come to the channel page very often. But this is the banner. I'm using this on YouTube and Patreon, and I think Twitter and Facebook as well. It works very well for all of them. So yeah, this is very nice, at least for now. We've got some quite recent games here being depicted, so this will last for a few months at least. Then obviously it might need updating as time goes on, just to show that I'm up to date with all the most recent releases. But a huge thank you to Dan, because it really does make a big difference to the channel, so thanks very much for that. Now, the last specific thank you I want to give out is for John Rogers, one of our other Patreon subscribers. Now, he came to me with a couple of ideas for Patreon rewards that I thought were very good, and I have been able to implement in some way or other. So thank you to him, because I asked a couple of weeks ago for feedback on some of the ideas I had for Patreon rewards, and I have gone with some of the ideas that I had, but I've also integrated John's ideas as well. So hopefully, if we take a look at my Patreon page now, guys, hopefully some of these rewards will kind of appeal to you, and we'll be able to build a community here that's going to benefit everyone who's involved, and also benefit the channel and everyone who's subscribed on YouTube. So if we just explain a little bit about how Patreon works and what it's all about. And basically, it's a platform upon which creators, in other words, YouTubers, artists, musicians, they can give their fans the opportunity to support them financially by pledging a certain amount each month. Now, the benefit of this is that obviously you get the satisfaction of knowing that you're supporting me, for instance, and you're enabling me to be able to keep the channel going, because of course you don't earn much on YouTube, so this is like a nice supplement to that, to enable people to be able to afford to keep doing what they're doing so that the fans can keep benefiting from it. But at the same time, the creators that are on Patreon can set up more specific rewards that their supporters can benefit from. And they are split into different tiers. So when you subscribe for however much you'd like to give each month, then you'll see which tiers you're eligible for. And they do stack. So let's say you subscribe for $10 a month and you choose the $10 tier reward. You will also be eligible for all of the rewards below that. So the $5 tier, the $1 tier, and any others there. So it is accumulative. It does stack. Don't worry about, missing out on any of the lower tier rewards if you don't choose them. You do only click on one when you sign up, and then you choose the amount you want to give. But don't worry, you will receive all the others as well that are sort of below the one that you've chosen. So if we take a look now at the rewards I've set up, and I really hope they're things that are going to appeal to some of you. It is worth mentioning, actually, just before we do this, that my name on Patreon is basically the same, but it has a underscore, so it's stay_patient. But you can find the link to my Patreon page in the description of all my videos, so just check there if you'd like to come and have a look. But if we have a look here, we've got first up the $1 tier reward. Now, $1 is the lowest you can give. And please don't think that, if you're someone that could afford $1, but you can't afford any more, you might think, well, it's not even worth bothering. But it totally is. You see, Patreon isn't about people giving a lot of money each month. It's about a lot of people giving a small amount, and then that builds up to a worthwhile figure. I massively appreciate all of my subscribers on Patreon, no matter how much they're giving. So if you feel you can afford $1 a month, which is 80 pence, in UK currency, that's what the price of a Mars bar probably. Don't think it's not worthwhile, because if you think about it, let's say 20% of my subscribers on YouTube also subscribed on Patreon for just $1 a month. That would basically enable me to be able to go full time, because that would be the equivalent of pretty much a minimum wage income. So if all you can afford is $1, don't worry, it's just as appreciated as any of the other subscribers. So just to explain the reward here for you $1 subscribers, and remember, everyone who subscribes will receive this reward because they do stack. It says access to the Patreon feed and community page. Early access via my posts to news and updates without having to wait for a video on the subject. I'll also share my opinion on all the platinums I earn, as well as updates on incoming content. So what I'll be doing is whenever I find maybe a glitch for a game that's really helpful, or a guide that's useful, maybe I hear about a game that's coming out that's going to be a nice easy platinum, or get an update on a game's release date, all of these different things, the kind of things that I speak about during the weekly trophy update show. As I come across all these, useful bits of information, I will be uploading them on Patreon for just my Patreon subscribers to be able to see. And as I mentioned there, I'll also give you my opinion on all the platinums that I earn. So I'll be letting you know how difficult they are, how long they take, and just how enjoyable they are, any impressions that I personally have, and maybe even uploading a little bit of footage for you to watch as well. So that's going to be really interesting, guys. Hopefully everyone who subscribes for whatever tier, all of you will have access to that. The second part of it, though, is referring to the community page. As it says here, connect with other like-minded people on the community page and use it to find reliable co-op and boosting partners for games and trophies. Now, the community page is where you guys can post and, chat with each other, almost like a bit of a forum, I guess. And the beauty of it will be, as the Patreon community grows, hopefully once there's enough people here, you'll be able to use it to find other gamers to play with. And the best thing about that is the fact that those people you find on my Patreon page, you already know that they are generous, selfless people because they are subscribed to me and they're giving out of just pure generosity. So when you find people on other forums, quite often, you'll set up a boosting session, they'll get their trophy and then they'll just leave and they won't stick around to help you. So hopefully when it comes to my subscribers on Patreon, that generous attitude that they have will kind of spill over to their gaming. So that's hopefully going to mean that you'll have access to a much more reliable type of co-op partner or trophy booster to work with. Obviously, this one is going to take a bit of time to get going because we will need a decent number of people on Patreon to make it worthwhile. But that's something that's going to get more and more helpful as time goes on. Now, the second tier is the $5 tier. It's called Choose the Content You Want to See on the Channel. And this is the big one. This is how you guys can really start to have an influence on what content I put up. Of course, I get a lot of suggestions from you guys, a lot of requests for trophy guides or top 10 videos, and this is the way in which you can make sure that the content you want to see on the channel is actually covered, because it's very difficult for me to keep up with all of these suggestions. So through this reward, I'm going to be able to tailor the content to you guys. I will regularly post asking you $5 and higher subscribers for suggestions for my next guide, top 10 or tips video. Some suggestions will be added to a voting poll, which you can then vote on to decide what content I create for the channel. So in other words, once I've finished a guide and uploaded it, I'll immediately post on Patreon and say, right guys, I'm ready to start taking suggestions for my next guide. And then after we've got a few responses and suggestions, I will then create a voting poll. And I'll put that voting poll up for anyone who's subscribed for $5 or higher to be able to access. And the same will apply to the top 10 videos, whichever subject you'd like to see done. Of course, if the one you wanted covered doesn't win that vote, then it does mean that the next time it will have a better chance, because all of those suggestions will roll over to the next vote, and it would just mean that all the content is stuff that the majority of my viewers here on YouTube, and especially my Patreon supporters, will be interested in. So the more of you that join this particular reward, or a higher one, the better really, because you don't want one person to be deciding every single video I make. Anyway guys, the next tier is only $1 more. This relates to a series that I started last year but wasn't really able to keep going. The title of this is Be the Star of a Subs Trophy Collection Review Video. Now what this series was all about was taking someone's PSN account, a subscriber's PSN account, and just looking through their trophies and figuring out what we could about them as a person and as a gamer based on the games they've played, which ones they've finished, and just sort of going through their trophy story, as it were. And obviously that gave me the opportunity to give them some advice on games they may not have finished yet. And hopefully that advice applies to some of the rest of you as well. And it also reminds me of a lot of games that I may have forgotten about and never really spoken about on the channel. It gives me an excuse to discuss some of those games that might have slipped out of my memory. Because as we go through those lists, there's no knowing what we'll come across. People play all sorts of games, and it's really nice just being able to have a look through and just treat it as a kind of investigation, really. In the first video, it was the first time I'd done it, of course. Some of you may have seen it, but the idea of this series might be new to a lot of you, because back when I made the first video in the series, it was only a few months ago, but I was at about 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers. So, this series will be new to a lot of you, and it was very popular at the time. People really enjoyed it, so hopefully you're excited to see it make a comeback. The reason I've made this a reward is because I received so many requests from people for me to do a review on their account that there's literally no way I could keep up with them all. And those requests were from back when I only had a couple of thousand subscribers. And obviously if I made this a regular feature, now I've got 9,000, working towards 10,000 subscribers. Every single week I'd be receiving probably dozens of requests. So although I've got a list of people who have asked me to do a video for them, I will be keeping that list, and I will get you guys, if the Patreon, if we work through all the Patreon guys, then I will be able to continue working through that list. But this just makes sure that those of you who want to guarantee yourself a review, those of you who really care about it, you can subscribe and you can make sure to have your review done, because like I said, it's probably going to be impossible for me to get through everyone who has put their name down. Now, we haven't actually read through this one yet, have we? So let's just skim through it quickly. It's basically reiterating what I've already said. If you would like a personal subs trophy collection review video done about your PSN account, then activating this reward or a higher one will prioritize you above non-patrons in the long waiting list. First come, first served. So that's another thing to bear in mind. The sooner you subscribe to this level, then the sooner we'll be able to get to your review. Now let's move on, guys, to the $10 tier reward. Now I'm really hoping that we get at least a few people on this tier, not just for the money, but because this relates to the new content, the new regular content that I've mentioned a few times recently. Now if we just read it through, it says, have your thoughts or questions featured on the channel. Each week I will post asking for your stories, questions, gripes, anything you'd like to share or ask. Yours may be featured during a new weekly video designed to be all about you guys, uploaded every Wednesday. Now that's why I'm putting this video up today, because it's kind of kicking off this new series. Now to begin with, until we have at least a few subscribers on this level, it might not be worthwhile having the video up every week, because basically what the show is going to be about is going through your guys' comments and your questions, almost like an Ask Stay Patient video, except rather than just asking me questions or asking my opinion or whatever, you'll be able to share your own opinion. So maybe there's a trophy that you've had an absolute nightmare with and you just feel like venting, so you can write out an angry rant about it, and I'll read that out on the channel. Maybe you want to ask me what my favorite game is, what my favorite platinum was to earn, any questions like that. Maybe you'd like to talk about your favorite games or favorite trophies, whatever you want to share really. Just keep it clean, because I like to keep the channel, clean, no swearing and all that kind of thing. But hopefully, if enough people subscribe to this level, we'll be able to really make a regular show out of this. In the meantime, if there's not enough people leaving their comments and questions, then I will probably make it maybe a monthly show to begin with, or every other week, but then upload a different video on those alternating Wednesdays and make something else kind of regular in between this particular show, which I'm thinking I will probably call the Trophy Hunters Hangout. Now it continues on here, receive the opportunity to have your thoughts shared during other videos too. Now this is actually one of the main reasons why I held off putting up the next How to Be a Trophy Hunter video until I'd done this one, because the second episode in that series is going to be featuring some of your thoughts, hopefully, if you are willing to share them with me. Now, I'm not going to talk about what subject I'm going to be covering just yet, but if you subscribe for $10 or more, you will immediately be able to have some of your thoughts and opinions shared on the next video in that How to Be a Trophy Hunter series, which looks like it's going to be a very popular series. So everyone likes having their opinions read out on YouTube, don't they? So jump on that nice and quick, guys. It would be great to have the opportunity to share some of your thoughts for that video nice and soon. But if we carry on here, because I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, guys, this is the final tier. Now, you may have had a look recently and seen that there was a $20 tier and a $30 one. Well, what I've done is I've combined them both into one tier and just called it $20 for all of it. So this one is specifically geared towards fellow YouTubers, you guys who are trying to get your own channels off the ground and get some recognition and some new subscribers and things like that. So for $20 a month, this one's entitled Have Your Channel Promoted Regularly and Get Patreon Producer Recognition. Basically, let's just read it through. Trying to grow your own channel, be listed as one of my featured channels on the Stay Patient Trophies main page and as a Patreon producer in the description of all my videos, with a link to your channel there as well. So in other words, on the channel, if we go back to my YouTube channel here, this is my homepage, the main page of my channel that everyone is taken to when they subscribe or, when they check out my channel for the first time or whatever. And on the right hand side, you'll see the featured channels section. So all of the $20 subscribers will have their channel listed in my featured channels. But the main benefit really is the next part, this part here. But just to explain the Patreon producer sort of recognition, what this is going to do is every single video that I put up is going to have your name at the bottom as a kind of credits. You'll be listed as a Patreon producer with a thank you for you kind of making the video possible, as it were. And next to your name will be a link to your YouTube channel. So hopefully that will bring some traffic your way as well. But like I mentioned, the second part of this is where you'll receive the biggest benefit, I think. Because as it says, at least once every 8 weeks, have one of your videos and your subscribe button on screen instead of my own at the end of one of my weekly shows. Have it seen by more and more people as my views increase. Get in early to be featured far more often until the 32 spots are filled. So basically, there are going to be 2 weekly shows, at least eventually. There's going to be the weekly trophy update that I've been doing for a few months now. And there's also going to be the new show that I spoke about, which will hopefully be up every Wednesday once we've got enough subscribers to be able to have a regular stream of comments and questions and things. So at the end of those 2 shows, rather than sharing my subscribe button and my videos, which you may have noticed is a new feature on YouTube, it's called the end screen. So you can put up your subscribe button, maybe a Patreon button, your videos to kind of make sure people check out some of your other content once one of your videos finishes. But rather than promoting my own stuff during those 2 regular shows, I'm going to be listing or, posting your details on screen. So there'll be a subscribe button for your channel and at least one of your videos. Now, what I'll be doing is allowing 32 people to join up for this. It's going to take a while to fill those 32 spots. The reason there's 32 is because it's going to be an 8-week cycle to make sure that, when your video comes round again or your channel comes round again to be promoted, enough time has passed that there's a nice lot of new subscribers on my channel, new people to see your channel being promoted and go and check it out and stuff. So this 8-week cycle is going to contain 16 videos because there's 2 weekly videos every week. So 32 spots will mean that I'll be able to promote 2 channels at the end of each video, but of course to begin with, there's only going to be maybe a couple of you here. So I will still be promoting your channels at the end of every single weekly show. So let's say there's only 2 people subscribed to this level. You'll be featured every single week. It won't be an 8-week cycle. That will only come into play when we've got enough people and we're kind of cycling through all of the different shout outs. But hopefully that makes sense, guys. Basically, it's a way in which you'll be able to get a lot of exposure through my channel. Obviously, as my channel grows, which it is doing very rapidly, there'll be more and more people seeing your kind of promoted video and seeing your subscribe link. And hopefully it will really enable you to, I guess, experience the kind of success that I'm experiencing here on YouTube as well. So I hope that works out for you guys. Just to remind you that most of these rewards are going to be even more beneficial to you if you sign up sooner rather than later. Obviously, this one here, we've spoken about the fact that you'll be featured a lot more regularly if if all the spots aren't filled. But also the $10 reward, I'm really hoping people subscribe here because it's, the new content I spoke about is going to rely entirely on you guys. The $6 reward is first come, first served. So if you do want your account reviewed on the channel, then the sooner you get in, the sooner it will happen. With the $5 reward as well, you'll be better off signing up sooner because if there's some content you'd really like me to make, if you're one of the only people subscribed that is actually, interacting with those voting polls and things like that, then you'll have a really big influence over what content I put up. And obviously all of you are going to benefit from the $1 tier reward. So I hope I haven't rambled on too much, guys. It's been such a knackering couple of days. My head's a scramble because, like I say, this is the 4th time now that I've recorded the video and it's been slightly different each time. So I hope all that is understandable. If you have any questions, let me know. And thank you so much in advance to any of you who do decide to subscribe to me on Patreon off the back of this video. I really hope the rewards make it worth your while. So thanks very much, guys. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the top 10 video that I'm going to be putting up today as well. And don't forget, if you are subscribed, jump on and check out my voting poll for the next top 10 so that we can choose together which one we're going to cover. All right, guys, have a great week. Thank you once again, and I'll catch you very, very soon.